a new column. So we just want to do like a computation, like total sales amount. And so for doing that, when we go to modeling, I'm just going to click measure, new measure. So new measure is what allows you to create a calculation that is not going to be like for every single cell in a table, but then something like a calculation you want to display on your report. Okay, so I'm going to call this sales sales amount. Let's so that I don't go use the name sales again. So sales amount, I'm going to say sales amount should be, a conditional based on what was selected. So that brings us to two DAX formulas. If which is straightforward, but then there's this thing I can use to monitor what is selected in the currency. So I can say if the selected value in the currency table currency field, if it is if that is equal to USD, so if it's USD that is being selected, then it should get me the sum of the sales in USD. Otherwise, it should get me the sum of the sales as it is in Naira anyway. Okay, so with this, that should work. Let me just take one look at the selected value. Well, if it doesn't work, it's going to tell us anyway. So I do this. Now, whenever you do a measure, right, Power BI has this. If it doesn't work, it will come up with an error anyway. And when we use it, we will know also too if the values are not what we expect, then we can go check what we've done wrong. But I want you to notice that what I've done, it has put the formula this in here under branch table, which is doesn't look like the right place to put it. If you ask me, it doesn't follow. This is not something related to branch, so I can move it, right? So if I click on this, then if I go to table tools, right, I can change the no, not table tool. I want to change the home. Let's just toggle and see. They keep moving things around in this menu. Before it used to be in modeling. Now they've added a couple more. Let me just check. Okay, so there's a new one, measure tools, right? So if I go to measure tools, I change the data category. No, not the data. I need the home table. Yeah, the home table. I change from branch data to, let's say, sales data makes more sense. Some other times, some people create a blank table and put in all their measures in there. Well, different people have different. Me, I try to put it in a table that I think is much more related to what that measure is computing. So in this case, I think the sales data is a better table to move it to. So if you don't want to keep doing that over and over when you're creating measure, then you might prefer to just right click on the very table that you want the measure to be in and pick new measure. So that's what I do a lot. So I'm going to do that for the sales target. I'm going to right click on the sales target table and say I want to add a new measure there, and then I'm going to call that new measure target amount. I'm going to follow the same approach. So once this comes up, I'm going to call it target amount, and I'm going to say if selected value of currency is equal to USD, then it should get me the sum of the target amount in USD. Otherwise, you just get me the local currency one. So just target. Okay, and I close the bracket, and that should do it. So that's what I'm going to use in this thing. So those measures I've created, I'm going to use them now. I'm going to just instead of sales, I'm going to drag sales amount to value. Okay, and instead of target value, instead of target, ordinary target, I'm going to drag that target amount to target. Okay, and so you see this is happening as we've expected. And if I toggle this to Naira, I see the value in Naira. Okay, I need to do something about this title. The title is taking too much space. So I'm going to go to title and say the title should be sales versus targets. So this looks good. I'm going to try to maintain the same design I did here. So I'm going to say like centralized to the middle. You should give it a background color of this, and what other thing do we do? Okay, so that's looking good. Now this gauge has another nasty default behavior of always putting the maximum of the scale to be twice the actual. So if you want something else, so we are going to do that. We're going to create a maximum scale that will be dynamic, that will be like times 1.2 of the max value of this. So if the target is the max of this displayed, then you should just do on the scale of 1.2, like 120% of the target. And if it's the actual that is the largest, so that is not difficult. I just again go to sales data, I right click, I do new measure. So I'm going to call it gauge max. So I'm going to call it gauge max, and I'm going to say it should be the max of sales, but that sales amount that we've created. So this sales amount, comma, target amount, and then whichever is the maximum of the two, you should multiply by 1.2. So I'm going to use that as my maximum of the scale. So this max value, I'm going to just drag the gauge to max value. So that way, I can have a better looking gauge. Okay, so I am going to just reduce or increase, I don't know which to do, the size of this. If you feel this is too big, or so, I've seen people say they like this size anyway. The only thing sometimes they do is maybe they want the color to be different. You can always change that. If you go here, you can change what color the target should have, and you can control the size. So maybe you want the color of the target to be I don't know, maybe deep blue. Okay, maybe that's good. So I'm going to leave it that way, and then I move on to another control. So I move on to another control, another visual I want to show. So I want to show what's our sales amount. So I want to show it as a table, like a tabular display of sales amount versus target by the product, by the, all the things that I feel management would like to see. So there are two tables, right? There is this table, which I call it table for dummies, or like user friendly kind of. So it has just one option. You drag whatever you want there and it displays. So I want to see the product. So if I want to see the product, I want to see the what other thing will I, it makes sense to show. So I want to see the product, this, I want to see the products, I want to see the sales amount, I want to see the target amount. So you see, once I just drag them in there, they show that way. On the surface, you'll be like, this is good, this is what I want. But then let me show you the difference between this and, so there's a second table called matrix.